When I was 12, old enough to recognize danger, but still young enough to attract unwanted attention, something unsettling happened. My neighborhood was busy, but bordered a forest preserve with a sump across the street. Beyond the woods lay a small community park. One Saturday night, a carnival was set up there. Since I had no plans, my mom suggested I check it out. She wasn't the type to restrict my freedom, so I went. I crossed through the forest with a flashlight, passing a fence into the park. Carnival rides lit up the night. A Ferris wheel, a roller coaster, spinning attractions and game booths. The crowd had thinned by then. A striped circus tent stood nearby, and curious, I peeked inside. 3 clowns were performing, one on a tricycle, one juggling, and another dancing. The dancer noticed me, waved a finger, and beckoned me closer. Uncomfortable, I left. Later, I ran into a friend and stayed with him until the carnival closed. As I headed back toward the woods, I heard a behind me. It was the same clown, inviting me to see backstage. I refused and hurried away, glancing back to make sure he wasn't following. He just stood there, grinning eerily. Once out of sight, I ran. I didn't tell my mom, afraid she'd stop, letting me go alone. But halfway home, I heard psst again. My stomach dropped. The clown emerged from the trees, stepping into my flashlight's beam. I threw the light at him and sprinted home, hearing his footsteps until I reached the road. Breathless, I lied to my mom, saying I'd jogged the whole way. The incident haunted me, fueling my fear of clowns, a fear that had started years earlier at a county fair. Years later, at 14, I lived in a small South Carolina town. My summer job at a lumberyard kept me fit, and I often walked a mile home at night. One evening, halfway back, I heard a strange, high-pitched laugh. I brushed it off, but the next day, I found a clown's nose on the roadside. That night, walking home without music, I spotted what I thought was a deer in the fog. But as I passed, footsteps followed. A voice called out, "Hey there!" A clown stood in the road, his costume filthy, makeup smeared. "You have something of mine," he said. When I denied it, his tone turned sinister. "If you don't have my nose?" He pulled out what looked like a machete. I bolted, hearing his bare feet slapping the pavement, blades scraping asphalt. A truck crested the hill just in time, its headlights revealing no trace of him. I never walked that road again. Reports of clowns lurking in woods have since surfaced, leaving me wondering, was this a cult or something worse? Either way, I'll never see clowns the same. The fear never really left me. Even now, years later, I still get chills thinking about those encounters. The way he just appeared out of nowhere, like he'd been waiting. And that laugh. High-pitched, unnatural, like something pretending to be human. I've heard similar stories since then. People spotting clowns in the woods at night, watching from the tree line, or even following kids home. Some dismiss it as pranks or urban legends, but I know better. There's something deliberate about it, something organized. A friend of mine once told me about a road trip where he pulled over to rest near a wooded area. He swore he saw a figure in full clown makeup standing just beyond the headlights, motionless, staring. When he blinked, it was gone. Another time, a woman in a nearby town reported seeing a group of them gathered in a clearing, just standing in a circle, like some kind of twisted ritual. I don't know what they want. Maybe it's just about fear, maybe it's something worse, but I do know this. If you ever hear a laugh in the dark, where there shouldn't be one, run. Don't look back, just run. The woods have always held secrets, but now they feel different, tainted. I used to love the quiet rustle of leaves, the way moonlight filtered through the branches. Now, every shadow seems to shift when I'm not looking. Last winter, a hunter in our area went missing. They found his rifle leaning against a tree, untouched, his tracks disappearing near a patch of disturbed earth. No blood, no struggle, just gone. The sheriff called it an animal attack, but the old-timers at the diner whispered about the painted ones and avoided eye contact. Then there are the dreams. Not mine, others. A teacher at the local school told me 3 of her students drew the same thing in art class. A grinning face peering through their bedroom windows, its cheeks streaked with running makeup. None of them had spoken to each other about it beforehand. I tried moving away once, got as far as the next county before I found one of those red noses on my windshield, smeared with something dark. That's when I realized they don't just haunt places. They haunt people. The worst part? Nobody believes you until it's their turn. Until they're standing alone on some empty road, listening to the scrape of metal on asphalt behind them. By then, it's usually too late. So I keep the lights on, and when the crickets suddenly go silent at night, I don't wait to hear what silenced them. I lock the doors and pray morning comes faster. Because whatever's out there wearing those smiles, they're not here to entertain. The silence is the worst part. You never hear them coming. 1 minute the night is alive with a hum of cicadas, the next, nothing. Just this heavy quiet that presses against your ears like cotton. That's how you know they're near. Last month, they found another one of those noses, this time nailed to the door of the abandoned church on Route 9. The paint was fresh, still tacky, to the touch. Sheriff said it was kids playing pranks, but we all saw how his hands shook when he bagged it. My cousin swears he saw them moving through the cornfield behind his property at dawn. Said they walked single file, their oversized shoes kicking up dust, their heads turning in unison toward his porch light. When he grabbed his shotgun, they melted back into the stalks like they'd never been there at all. The internet's full of stories now. Hikers finding clusters of balloons tied to trees deep in the woods. Security cameras catching pale faces pressed against windows at 3 a.m. The comments always say the same thing. It's just a hoax. Don't be stupid. But we know. I keep a machete under my bed these days. Not because I think it'll save me. Because I refuse to let them make me disappear without a fight. They want us afraid? Fine. But they'll learn. Some prey bites back. The thing nobody tells you about fear is how it changes you. I used to sleep with the window open, letting the night air wash over me. Now I barricade my bedroom door with a chair and triple-check the locks. The old me would have called this paranoia. The new me calls it survival. Last Tuesday, the power went out across the whole county, not a storm cloud in sight. Just the lights flickering once, twice, then darkness. That's when the knocking started. Not on doors, on trees. That same staccato rhythm echoing through, the hollow like bony fingers tapping against bark. The dogs went berserk, howling like their tails were on fire. By sunrise, 7 were missing. Just empty chains and chew-through leashes left behind. They're getting bolder. Mrs. Wilkins from the post office found footprints circling her chicken coop, oversized, with that distinctive wavy tread from clown shoes. The weird part, the prints stopped dead at the edge of her property, as if whoever made them had simply vanished mid-step. I've started noticing patterns. They always come during transitions. Dusk, dawn, the moment between sleep and waking. They favor places where children play. Swing sets, sandboxes, the bleachers behind the high school. And they leave gifts, not just noses anymore. Last week it was a bundle of animal bones tied with rainbow ribbon. Yesterday a single glove, fingers stiff with dried blood. The police won't help. The reporters just want a sensational story. So we've started our own watch. Me, the night shift guys from the lumberyard, a few others who've seen things. We take turns patrolling the tree line with floodlights and hunting rifles. Sometimes we hear that damn laughter echoing back at us from the blackness. We'll find out what they are eventually, and when we do, well, clowns aren't the only ones who can play with sharp objects. The game's changed. Now we hunt them back. The first rule of hunting predators? You have to think like one. We stopped carrying flashlights. The light just made us targets. Now, we move through the trees in total darkness, our boots wrapped in burlap to muffle footsteps. The lumberyard crew taught me how to read the forest, broken twigs, disturbed leaves, the way birds suddenly stop singing in one particular patch of woods. We found their nest last week. It wasn't what we expected. No circus tent or abandoned funhouse. Just a shallow cave system near the old quarry. Walls smeared with grease paint handprints. The stench hit us first, rotting cotton candy and something metallic. Then we saw the piles. Costumes folded with military precision. Dozens of those red noses in a pyramid. Polaroids nailed to the stone. Smiling families at county fairs, their faces circled in red marker. That's when we realized they weren't just watching, they were studying. The sheriff finally took us seriously after we brought back one of their toys. A straight razor welded to a bicycle horn. Now there's a task force, but they're looking in all the wrong places. They check drainage tunnels and abandoned buildings, while we stalk the spaces between. The overgrown railroad cuts, the hollow cottonwoods, the places where the map says here there be monsters in invisible ink. We've started leaving gifts of our own. Bear traps wrapped in rainbow duct tape. Machetes high, tedded in bundles of balloons. Let them learn what it feels like to be hunted. Last night, we found fresh tracks leading toward the elementary school. The grooves in the mud weren't from shoes this time. They were barefoot. And much smaller than before. They're evolving. So are we. The tracks told the real story. Smaller, yes, but with a strange, elongated shape to the toes. Almost webbed. That's when we noticed the other changes. The Polaroids in their nest now showed beach scenes. Carnival piers stretching over dark water. And the stench of cotton candy had been replaced by something saltier. Something that clung to the back of your throat like damp seaweed. We set up trail cams near the quarry's flooded lower levels. The first images made no sense. Blurred figures moving through knee-deep water, their silhouettes distorted by refraction. Then came the clear shot. A face pressed against the lens, its features smeared with running grease paint, its eyes black and bulging like a deep-sea creature's. The mouth opened too wide, revealing rows of needle teeth. The school incident proved they'd adapted. They'd learned to mimic children's voices, calling for help in perfect imitation of Tommy Henderson's lisp. 3 teachers rushed toward the sound near the playground's edge. Only 2 came back. The third was found at dawn, sitting upright in the sandbox, her face painted white with red diamonds around dead, unblinking eyes. Now the whole town's on edge. Parents keep kids indoors even during daylight. The old bait shop by the River burned down last week. Fire department said it was faulty wiring, but we all saw the clown-shaped scorch marks on the dock pilings. They're testing boundaries, seeing how far they can push before we break. But we've been learning too. The quarry's sealed now. 20 tons of gravel poured into the entrance. We lace bait with crushed sleeping pills and monitor the riverbanks with thermal scopes. Some of us have started wearing masks of our own, not to hide, but to blend in. 2 can play at this masquerade. They want monsters? Fine, we'll give them monsters. The moon's waning again. Time to hunt. The cicadas have gone quiet again tonight. We move through the trees like shadows now. Our own grease paint smeared across cheekbones. Our pockets heavy with fishhooks and fireworks. The quarry may be sealed, but the river whispers secrets to those who listen. Wet footprints leading to new hiding places. Strands of rainbow hair caught on willow branches. Tomorrow the carnival rolls into town. Let them come. We'll be waiting in the ticket booth behind the cotton candy stand, our smiles just a little too wide. The music will drown out the screams. The crowd will mask the struggle, and when the last trailer pulls away at dawn, well, every town needs its clowns.